You ready? Okay. All right, I'd like to go ahead and call this meeting to order for May the 4th, 2023, for the Coney County Parks, Recreation, and Tourism Commission. This is our call to order. First thing on our agenda is to have the approval of the minutes for March 2nd, 2023.
So, move be approved. Second.
We'll go all the way across this room to the hallway.
All right, I heard an approval for minutes.
So motion.
Hey,
Second.
I made the motion.
Okay. All those in favor? All right. Next up would be the treasurer's report. Phil?
All right, so I've got a couple of things in front of you, and on your screen. The treasurer's report on your screen matches the paper copy in front of you, just shows you how we got there, so you can see it. You can see the local balance of the A-tax is $572,825. You can also see the state A-tax balance of $425,677. And then on the bottom, I wanted you to be able to see our anticipated and estimated revenues for FY '24, because as we approve things today, you were like, that's a little more than what we were talking about, but it doesn't include next year's revenues. So I've included the estimated revenues for next year for both of those accounts. And on your balance sheet, you can see, I think we're showing just over $1 million in the account, and then you can see the encumbrances that are ongoing. There's about 100,000, about 75 to 80,000 in that supplemental A-tax that I won't spend this year. I just physically can't get to it. So we're just gonna roll that forward. And I'll show you those as we get to the supplemental budget this year. Any questions on those numbers? If not, I'll highlight for you, this is the local A-tax account, and it continues to do well. The highlighted yellow month is when we started with our software collection, and you can really see the ramp up in percentages. This year, we're 13% up over last year, which was 26% over that initial jump in '21. So we anticipate, as you saw on the previous screen, a little over $1 million coming through in the local A-tax account this year, which we use for the supplemental budget. We also use it for projects that come through the commission here. Any question on this graph?
I'm just real quick, just want the FY figures. That is the amount above, right? So FY '22, you were 200,000 ahead of the previous
Of the
year,
previous year, that's correct.
and this FY we're 91 above
91
22.
ahead of the 9 months that we've collected so far this year.
Okay.
So that FY '23, the 13%
Yeah.
is the 791 we've collected in our 9 months so far against the same 9 months last year.
Okay. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Alright.
So if we stay on track, that's where I got the estimated revenue. If we stay
Yep.
on this same track, and it may trend a little higher, we've been on the rise for a long time. We had 2 months in '23. I think it was December was down just a touch, and then again in February. But you're talking, 1%, 2%. But then you see the other months are continuing to track up.
Right.
The software is working. We're working now with about 800 different short-term rentals through the process, and I feel very confident that we're about 95% plus compliancy with all those. And I only say 95% because the VRBO side pays us that, they still pay that one check, and I can't tie that to an exact property. They haven't released that yet. So I'll get one check for VRB properties every month with no list of who that is.
Right.
But if they're collecting VRBO system-wide is collecting it and sending it to us. So, the next slide is the same for the state A-tax. Just to give you a little bit of background, we are 6% up for this year. Third quarter was down just a touch. Again, this is the money collected throughout the entire state that is then given back to the counties. We are collecting enough now that we are above the threshold, and some is withheld from us to give to other counties. So for most of my career here, we've been on the bottom side and we've gotten everything back. We've reached that threshold. Robin Hood clause, if you will, is what they call them on the state side, that so many counties that are on the upper end, they'll shave a little bit off of yours and give to those counties that don't have a lot so that they can continue to operate in tourism as well. So on this check in third quarter, I think there was about $11,000 that was withheld out of that total that went to other counties. So we're starting to see that on those checks as they come in a little bit. Any questions on the state aid tax account? If not, I will get into the two action items that we have for today. The first one is a supplemental budget, and I have that in front of you in paper form as well on your screen. And I'll go through this so that you can see it and understand what we're using these funds for. We started last year doing all of our maintenance building and grounds for our parks out of LAT. That will continue. We also do almost half of our seasonal now out of this, and I've raised this up this year. We added some hours to some parks. We also, I'm proposing to raise the seasonal pay from $13 to $13.50. So to continue to be competitive, we're like everybody else. We lose people. It's hard to keep good people, and so we're going to raise that up to $13.50 if this passes. And you can see that supplement over there on the right-hand side. New this year, again, as LAC grows, we look at ways that we can offset the general fund so that we are good stewards of both sides. We're gonna take 50% of our electrical cost in our park system and take it out of LAC for those 3 parks. So that total this year is about $59.5 is what we anticipate. So that'll reduce my general fund side about $59.5 this year, which helps me tell the story. It really does on how good things are going for us on the tourism side. Lakeside Parks will continue to be $30,000. That is the staffing and operation for my 2-man crew that goes and cleans all 10 of those landings throughout the year. We will do again 4 interns across our parks. Programming will continue. That's our spring break programs, that's our WET program, our junior naturals program, all of the classes that we do, the monarch butterflies, the napping, everything that we do from a programming comes out of that budget. And we've been able to do so much by the addition of this that just doesn't get a priority in the general fund, to be honest. So it's been a great asset for us. I did increase marketing promotion internally just a little bit. We saw a need to up that just a little bit on our internal side to 25, not a big increase at all. Safety and the signage are the 2 main ones that I'm not gonna get to this year. We're gonna push that forward. The safety side, a lot of that is through emergency management and some lake signage on docks. You've probably seen some of that legislation that's passed. So we're waiting on the timing of emergency management to get that ready to roll out to where we can identify some signage on the lakes for safety, 911 addressing. The secondary gateway signage, I'll show you pictures of here in a minute, what that will look like. The docent program, we've been doing the docent program now for probably 6 or 7 years. And it is successful. Those folks are able to stay open a little bit longer, be open on the weekends. You'll notice this year we're adding a location. So we've always done the general store, the Oconee Military, and the Cherokee Museum. This year we're also adding the Foothills Farmstead to that list of folks that have docents. And they will begin being open on a regular basis July 1 as they begin putting together their farmstead out in Oakway. And the last thing is the position at the museum that we started paying last year that will continue to come out. We are blessed from a supplemental standpoint, that position, and then we will have 4 in Visit Oconee that are all paid for with a tax. We could not do that, and be growing as we are without the success of that. So I present this to you. I'm here for questions. I tried to lay it out so where it was easy to understand and you could see the description. But if there's any questions on any of this, if not, then we would look for a recommendation to send this to full council.
A couple of questions. So number one, with the docent program, how is it decided that Foothills Farmstead was added to the mix?
They sent it out, requested.
Okay,
So it's not, you gotta be a nonprofit.
yeah,
You gotta be open to the public, and you gotta have some sort of, ability to interpret and tell the story. So they fit those bills and requested to be included. You know, how many we can add, I don't know, but, that covers the existing museums. The other ones are operated by the cities, and get some funding that way, but these are not. And so we're able to assist those. You know, Oconee History's not on here because we fund them internally,
okay,
some as well. So, these are the nonprofits that don't particularly are tied to anything and helps them stay open. And we do get their numbers every year. We look at I didn't really look at too heavy last year with coming out of COVID, because they all took a hit. Outdoor went up, outdoor went down. So, we're gonna keep supplying them with some funds, and we'll keep monitoring that and make sure it's working well. But it allows them to stay open and to be visible.
yeah, with the Oconee History Museum, so this is the second year that we will be assisting with getting that staff person to transition?
So I'm including this in here. It actually is already set up. We approved it last year, so it'll be ongoing. But I keep it on here because it comes out of this pot of money.
Okay.
So you'll see it every year, but it goes through the approval process, but it's kind of set up now and as an employee is ongoing unless something changes.
And that's the salary plus the benefits? All that's
That's
including that
correct.
53?
Yeah, 53 is salary plus benefits.
Okay. Okay. Does anybody have any questions?
I'll make a motion, we send the fiscal '24 ATAX supplemental budget to the council.
I second it. Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Awesome.
Yep.
Thank you. The next order of action is to approve our Visit Oconee budget for this year. We have to do this every year as required by state law. And we have two pots of money that you guys approve in your seats. That is the 65% fund and the 30% fund. It is exactly what it sounds like. Those come back from the state in two different pots of money. So we get one lump sum, and then by state statute, it's split. There's a 65% fund, there's a 30% fund, there's a 5% fund, and then the other 5%, you add all that up, goes to the county's general fund by statute. So we are required to show you how that money is spent and get your blessing on how it's set up. What we've done internally, and this is probably our 7th or 8th year now, is we have funded salaries completely out of the 65% fund. So, that money comes back each year. We actually physically approve it, send it to Visit Oconee, but they send it back and actually pay the county back for these salaries. So, in the past, we've paid for 3 positions. The bottom one, the customer service data analyst, is a new position we're adding this year. She's on board, but she's a part-time that we're moving to full-time. It's kind of like we did with the museum last year. And she operates the front house of the visitor center, and she's our Zartico specialist on the software side. So that has made the full budget through first reading, and so you see that addition onto the 65% state aid tax fund. What was new last year, we used to not have to, you used to only vote on the 65% fund. Last year, it was a new law that you also had to start voting on the 30% fund. And so this will be our second year, and you can see the breakdown of those dollars in the three categories that we send to the state and where we spend our money. Ken is here and can answer anything. If you want anything broken down any further, I can tell you digital media is about 26, visitor center operations is 40, and the rest is advertising and marketing, if that helps a little bit. I didn't put those numbers on the screen, but you're looking at about 60 covering operations and digital media, and then the rest is advertising and marketing on those numbers. Any specific questions on Visit Oconee?
Everybody hear that?
If there's no questions, then we would look for a recommendation to also send this to full council for a vote.
Well,
That's for each one, correct?
I'm sorry?
That's for
You
65.
could do one motion, just
Good.
say both funds in the motion.
Just out of curiosity, do we have, with our current analysis, a way to get an ROI on any of the actual advertising and marketing campaigns? Or what are we, I guess the choice of the Blue Ridge Outdoors, AAA Go, trade shows, media events, that sort of thing? Do we?
I'll let Ken answer that, but it's all research based. If it doesn't work, we don't do it again.
Yeah, we do get some replies back for printed ads. We've, over the last few years, we've been kind of phasing out. However, do get from the state a match grant up to a certain amount. And our certain amount is like 47,000 based on our budget. So if 47,000 is what the state will give back to me. So it's sort of like free money. So if I spend 47,000 in printed ads, I'll get $47,000 back. So I actually get a total of about $94,000 of marketing. So I try to use that full amount every year for some form of applicable marketing. But we do things like in Southern Living, and we put a QR code in there. We have reader feedback. We get a lot of feedback. But what we also have is residual feedback over months. So if a publication came out this month, we get some immediate feedback, and probably for the next 3 or 4 months, we continue getting feedback on that. How much is, it's just really hard to determine, but printed ads are just difficult to do unless we, well, I don't know of a way to do it. But obviously on the website, we know how many people have touched the website. On our social media, we know how many people have gotten involved with that. So does that answer your question?
Just for another, visitor center operations, the maintenance, that's just on the building, that doesn't include any of the Visit Oconee signage on the highway, that's
No,
taken
a
care of
totally
different. Yeah, just make,
account.
just double checking on that.
I don't know if you don't have your budget in front of you.
I don't.
So your visitor center operations includes phones, postage, supplies, and janitorial. Of the office itself.
Right.
Rent being the biggest one of those.
Yeah.
Like make a motion, we approve both funds and the fiscal '24 state ATAX funding to send to council.
Second it. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Outstanding. You get to go another
Thank you.
year. Part of this group.
That's all I
You
need.
got one more hurdle. So I want to give you a breakdown of capital projects. We are wide open
Yeah.
on capital projects in a good way. We have 14 active. I know this says 16, but 2 of them are finished. Number 10 and number 13, we marked off the sheet in the last 2 weeks. And we're able to finish those. So you can see touching everywhere. We got stuff going on, and I've got a good many pictures to show you as we work our way through. This will be, some new secondary signs that will come up. Some of the welcome to Oconee signs as you enter the secondary roads, 107, 76. We're gonna replace those, and it'll be something similar to this, that'll match our big gateway signs. Like I said, I just gotta get to it, and, begin working on that, and we're so close to the end of the year now, our cutoff for purchase orders, I gotta wait now till July to get started with any new big stuff, so. I'll begin working on that as the summer winds down and try to knock out as many as I can with that $50,000 in the supplemental budget, next year. These are gonna run probably 5 to 7 apiece, so I'll be able to knock out a good many this year, and then what we can't get to, we'll have probably one more year, to work on those, to update all those signages. The High Falls Point Shelter, this is what it used to look like. We have demoed it, and we have started construction on a new one. We kept, you can see the brick chimney in the back of that one. We kept the chimney, but we've wrapped it, kind of updated it. And then, we've gone with the white cedar prefab shelter that, is tongue and groove ceiling. It'll start going on, it's actually, the ceiling's going on now, this was last week. But, we did some stamped concrete on the bottom. The walkway coming to you in the right-hand picture leads to an arbor that'll double as a swing and a wedding destination point. So we have a lot of people that rent that for a wedding, they just use the grass. We went ahead and enhanced that, put a little sidewalk, and it's got a covered arbor. We'll put a swing there, and when there's a wedding, we'll take the swing down and use it as a wedding right there on the lake. On the left-hand picture, you can see a little wall there. We created a little space behind the chimney like an outdoor kitchen. So it's gonna be an added space to that shelter. And, I anticipate probably 4 weeks, and this will be up and running. So should be a pretty quick turnaround. The rock you see on the chimney will also wrap the columns, 3 feet up. So all 8 of those, columns will get wrapped as well. So the finished product's gonna look really nice. It's right there on the water. Big upgrade from what we had. This shelter here is probably 45 years old, if I had to guess. So,
There's no facilities.
I'm sorry?
There's no restroom facilities for the
There's
shelter.
no
It's
restroom
up.
facility at that site, you just gotta walk to
Yeah.
the bathhouse.
Is it still gonna have 2 double grills?
Yeah, so you can't, you really see, but in that outdoor kitchen, to the left of that chimney,
Yeah.
we've put a grill in the outdoor kitchen. So. Also at High Falls, we finally were able to get our asphalt work done. Having such a small project, it wasn't something people were priority to bid on, so it took us a while to get in there, so we got that finished. We did that in Mullins Ford together, I'll show you that picture in just a little bit. This is really cool, we're working on historic preservation, manual like this, the White House, the Alexander Cannon. This is a 3D image that we're working with the architect on. We've cleaned the house out, and now they're starting to work on the reconstruction, taking it back to its 1830 timeframe, as much as we can afford. So there are some decisions we're having to make that we can't quite do. But our goal is to have some office space upstairs for staff, and then the entire downstairs will be an interpretive space that the public will be able to access once that's complete. So you can kind of see, that's just a snapshot of some 3D stuff that we've been working on. That's actually what it looks like inside. We've completely gutted it. And they're beginning to work on it now, so.
So where's the office?
Now, this is
right
the
now.
second floor.
Oh, okay.
That's the second floor.
Cause
you're
I
looking
was
at.
like, I don't recognize it.
Yeah. I'll send you the link and you can kind of go through it, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
This is one of the completed projects. We had a really old climber, the old metal climbers that were no longer approved. We took it down and added 3 little climbers a little lower to the ground. You can see the fish in the back that we also added last year. So we upgraded that, and it's getting a ton of play. Just interaction with kids. This is Mullins Ford. It's hard to tell, but down by the dock, there's some bollards. Used to, you would pull through those bollards and back your boat in, and you only had really enough room for a single car. Today's trucks, today's boats could not use this. So you can see the new prep space that we added, that you can pull up to and prep your boat and then back into the water. So that was about a $30,000 addition, plus the drainage that will provide access for some of the bigger vehicles that we were having to turn away at that location on Hartwell. Something small that we could do. Seneca Creek, we had our first tournament there earlier this year. It's not open to the public yet. I'm trying my best, I promise. But that was a very successful day. We've got one more tournament at the end of May that is the BFL All-American that we're excited for. Just some pictures. You can see there's a lot of red dirt in that picture. We were still under construction. We poured the picnic area last week. Picnic tables and grills will go in soon. That is also the walkway leading down to the kayak launch through the picnic area. And then there's a set of stairs that you can see the wood frame of it just right there next to the gentleman framing it up. And you can see the pipes for the building. We did a prefab unit. It is a flushable prefab unit. So it came in on trucks yesterday and began putting it together. And I mean, it's just like putting a puzzle together. They put it together. You can see on the right-hand side, all the plumbing had to be fit to fit in the prefab holes that they sent us, and they will now connect the sewer, which is going to University Sewer. They'll connect the water. They'll also connect power. We are still waiting on power with the University and Blue Ridge Electric, waiting on them to finish the agreement. It's taking a little bit longer than we anticipated. There was some new state legislation about running utilities onto state property that passed last year. That's catching everybody off guard, just to be honest. And so there's a lot of hoops that are having to be jumped through, and we don't have power to the site as of yet. So I don't have my cameras and I don't have my parking lot lights. And I'm trying to hold out as long as I can to open for those from a security standpoint, because we did have some vandalism and some issues during construction that I'm trying to avoid. We spent a lot of money on the site, and if I've got to wait another month just to protect it, I'm inclined to do that. And at the end of yesterday, after all that, we had a building.
Okay.
So they are continuing to tie it together. If you've never seen that, it's crazy. There's 4 cinch points on each corner of the building from front to back. They run a steel cable through it. After it's set, they cinch the building together. They caulk all the seams, hook all the pipes up, and you got a building. So we were able to customize this to the aesthetics that we're using in our park system now. So it comes just like that. That is all concrete. The rock, what looks like the board batting up top, the roof, everything is concrete. Inside is concrete walls, stainless steel sinks and amenities to help with longevity. And then on the back of that, we've got a 30 by 10 storage space for our staff to utilize for product and storage for our Lake Hartwell guys. So they'll use that for a kind of a warehouse to put stuff in to go around the county.
How many stalls does it have?
So each side has 3. So men has a urinal and 2, women have 3. And 2 sinks. So we felt like that was plenty for we've got 49 parking spots there, plus 20 single for the kayak launch and bank fishing and fishing pier. If we have a large tournament, we obviously can bring in additional.
Yeah.
But for day-to-day, this is much better than a single unit, and it being flushable, much more sanitary. So that is just a quick update of all those things going on. If there's something on this list that I didn't touch on, I show you the phases there of each one of them. Probably the one closest to moving to the next phase is the Shaw Run Maintenance Building. We're really close to jumping out of engineering into some contracting phase on that one, and then of course next will be moving it forward into construction. Any questions on any of those?
You've got on the High Falls Recreation Building, the internal
Mhm.
renovations are complete. Oh, refresh my memory, what's the external?
So
That was
internally,
that.
we added a little kitchen area. We're gonna redo the floors, we painted, we updated the windows just a little bit. We made them easier. They didn't put new ones in yet. Externally, they'll take the old siding off,
That's
match
what
it
I
with the
was-
new aesthetics, and we get a new roof and a new deck on the back. And then that deck on the back's got a covered arbor that ties into the roof.
That's what I was trying to remember, if it was, there, I remember there's something with the deck, I just couldn't
Yeah,
remember exactly.
it's a covered deck. It's gonna be a nice addition to that.
With the tennis pickleball parking, like how many more space are you looking to add with the plan?
So, every morning, we have probably 50-plus people playing pickleball at South Cove. In addition to the 2 tennis courts that are used pretty regularly. We were not ready for that internally. And so they began parking all over grass and all over hills. So we've had to kind of maintain, if you go to South Cove, you'll see some new fencing, some new wooden fencing that kind of points them where to park. But the new parking area is above the courts. And it will double as tennis pickleball, also overflow boat.
Okay.
So the only way that tennis and pickleball is not a lake recreation sport. So, and because South Cove is a Duke Energy product, then they're only gonna approve amenities that support water recreation. So in order to add that, parking area there, we had to also make it able for boat overflow.
Right.
And so we've done that above the courts. We're probably not gonna do medians in there because of needing access for boats to maneuver. But I anticipate there being, 60 to 70 single spots. And then for us to be able to put additional 30 boats there on days that we need to do tournaments or summer overflow. And that engineering was done with Thomas and Hutton, and you can see the things Duke has. Duke has the beach, they have, the tennis pickleball, and they also have the docks that I don't think I put on here. So we've got a dock at the office, and we also are proposing docks in our campground. Because people are pulling up to the shore, we've gotta protect our shoreline. Today's boats are eating it up, so, we proposed 5 docks around the campground that will hold up to 40 boats. So that's half of our camping inventory, and unknown yet if we'll charge, how much more we'll charge for that and how that'll work. But, on any given day, that's half of our campers bringing a boat, which is on average about what we see.
And the master plans?
Master plans are again something I just hadn't been able to get to.
Okay.
This is a lot. One of the changes we are requesting internally is creating a project manager in-house. Knock on wood, that's made the budget, and hopefully it'll stay in the budget for this year. And if we do that, it will help tremendously, and you'll see a lot of these kind of move a little faster, and then we'll be able to add some to it. Our capital millage is still in place. It dropped just a little bit this year, but our foot's been on the gas really hard. And we're set up to continue to make those improvements. And honestly, we've probably got about 8 to 10 years worth of continued deferred maintenance things from a capital standpoint to keep us going at the rate of money we got coming in. And then we're also talking about expanding possibly at High Falls, which would be a bond or a bigger funding issue if they move forward with that.
And what's that potential, project manager, what is that potentially gonna be?
It's actually somebody in-house.
Oh, okay,
So
okay.
I'm already using the park superintendent at South Cove for project management.
Yes,
So the proposal is to make him a full-time project manager,
okay.
and then we would hire a new park superintendent.
Oh, okay. Is there still, I don't know if there's been a discussion or not, I'll just throw it out there, but, is there still a possibility of visitor center expansion? Is that discussed or is that thought about? I was just curious,
In what direction?
like adding a second location, or is everything going to still be Walhalla site for what y'all doing?
We had kiosks at certain places. We had a kiosk at the Gage, had a kiosk at Joe Cassie, and have one in Seneca. And those were just, well, at Trey's place at the Gage, we have a visitor center sign out on the street. So they come in, we have a visitor center station there with brochures and visitors guides. And going brain dead, where's the other one?
Real estate, Jack Cashew.
Oh, Joe Cassie Real Estate on Highway, right there at the entrance to that. We used to have one up on Highway 11 at a real estate office there, but they closed. So that's, right now, we don't have any other plans to implement any more visitor centers.
I got nothing else unless you got questions for me.
Everybody got any questions?
Can I make one statement?
Absolutely.
Okay, so I've announced my retirement effective next June. So this is the last budget you'll approve for me personally. And I just want to say thank you for your service to Visit Oconee. And thank you for not giving me a hard time about my budget. But I promise you it'll be in good hands when I close this thing out next June.
Wow.
But anyway, I just want to lay that out there so you all know, the board knows, and so I'm speaking freely about it so I can feel better about it.
But this meeting isn't adjourned yet.
Pardon me?
I said this meeting isn't adjourned yet, so
Well,
they could give you a long time.
Well, I'll be here through next June. I want to close this budget out, but this is the last fiscal budget you will approve under me.
If I'd have known that, I would have made a few cuts.
I know.
Is that why you gave yourself a substantial raise? Retirement?
Trust me,
Going
that
away?
will not happen. So
Well,
you have the,
congratulations.
Pardon me?
You'll enjoy the club.
Yeah, who knows? I might be sitting up there with y'all one day. I don't think Phil wants me up there.
sure, absolutely.
But I do appreciate your support on tourism for Oconee.
And we appreciate all that you've done too, of growing it as
Yeah.
far as, from what it was. I remember being on this commission way back in the day. So from what it was until what it is now, we appreciate your efforts too.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that, Kevin.
And we'll do some, as we get closer to next June, we'll do some highlights.
And
You know, some
lowlights.
things that we've gone, did you say have some lowlights?
Yeah.
Some highlights of, I mean, it's been a nice steady uphill climb for the last,
15 years,
Mm-hmm.
14 years, going on 15.
I'm almost at 20 with the county, so it's, I know we started it right after not long after I've been here. Here's your 3 dates for the rest of the year. Fall ATAX grants are due August 15th, and get these on your calendar. And if we don't have any other questions,
Let me ask one more thing.
yes, sir.
I think the council meeting, they talked about the renewal of the contract for host compliance. Is that
Yes.
correct?
So we do that on a 3-year basis, and that was up this year. So last council meeting, we went ahead and council approved for us to do the next 3-year contract with Granicus, which is the host compliance software. So that will continue for 3 more years.
Okay. It was about a little bit over 80, was it about,
It runs between 25 and 27 a year.
okay,
And of course, our return, you saw,
yeah,
it's
well worth it. Yeah, yeah, no question.
We're still doing 12, right? On the 24th, we're doing 12 PM, right?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, everything's at June.
Well, if we don't have any other questions, I'll make a motion that we adjourn.
Second.
All those in
Everyone's in
favor?
favor?
Retirement gift.
All right.